Ambassador Wilson, welcome to Atlanta.
Thank you.
We're wondering whether you could review Canada's economic health at the moment and the current state of its budget.
Well, our economy, not unlike the economy in the United States, is in pretty good shape. We've had about 15 years now of consecutive growth, and that's the second longest on record. So it's a pretty long and pretty healthy period of economic time that we've had in the last period. So we're pleased with that. Inflation is under control. We're down a little less than 2%. We have inflation guidelines, 1 to 3%, and we've been well within those for a number of years now. On the fiscal side, we're looking pretty good there as well. We've had, I think it's 8 straight surpluses coming up this year for our 9th straight surplus, budgetary surplus. We have a current account surplus, again, 28 or 29 consecutive quarters. So the health of the Canadian economy and the Canadian financial system is pretty darn good right now.
Is that primarily a result of government policy?
That is largely due to government policy. I can tell you that personally, I became finance minister in 1984. Our deficit then was 8.6% of GDP, which is a very high number. We got it down by 1991 to just over 3%, 3.1%. It blip up with the recession at the time, and then the next government that came in, they brought it down into surplus, and we've been in surplus ever since. I think 2 reasons. One, we introduced a broad-based consumption tax to replace a very faulty tax that was only on a limited number of manufactured products, so it was a very unfair tax. We replaced it. That has proven to be very successful, and it has generated good revenue. We've reduced that tax rate. The new government came in a year ago, has reduced the tax by 1 percentage point from 7 to 6. We expect that to go down sometime in the near future to 5%. The other thing that was helpful, I think, was the free trade agreement with the United States and then subsequently broadening into NAFTA. That was very, very helpful to our economy, and that generated more revenues itself.
How do you see the future of the free trade areas in the Americas?
Well, we've had a setback there. I don't think that's possible in today's political environment in the United States to get the support and enthusiasm for that within Congress. But I think also there are a number of countries in the Americas who today I think would find it very difficult to enter into negotiations there. So that is something I think we should be aiming for sometime down the road. We shouldn't lose sight of that. But it's down the road. It's not something that I think is an imminent opportunity. What we could do is working together with the United States and Mexico, the 3 countries, finding ways that we could expand on individual bilateral free trade agreements that each of us have with a variety of countries in the Americas. And that way get a sense of movement forward in that direction.
In view of Canada's historic support for free trade areas and so forth, nevertheless, occasionally frictions do come up in terms of the border. This term, the thickening of the borders, is describing the current situation post September 11th. Could you elaborate a little bit on how you view the term thickening of borders?
Well, let's start back with the free trade agreements. Those were designed to reduce and eliminate a number of the barriers to the free movement of goods, services, and investment capital, and to a lesser extent, people. Those were key elements of the free trade agreement. We felt very strongly about that. And now we're seeing what people call non-tariff barriers, things that are regulatory in their format, or a taxation that is, call it a service charge, a fee. There's one now, a fee for food inspection services that is applied to people flying into the United States They may not, they may be coming from Canada. We can understand there may be an issue of someone coming from a third country where there are some issues with the food safety, but you don't have that in Canada, and we just think it's another way of taxing, and it imposes another cost. That in itself is not the end of the world, but it's the accumulation of these that we think is important. Also, trucks coming in, bringing automobile parts to Atlanta, as an example. Well, they would have inspection fees for food, and they're not carrying food. Trainings, they're not carrying food, but they have inspection fees as well. So we don't think it's focused on the real risk, and we think there's a key principle here of risk management that should be followed in ensuring the security to the border that we all want to have.
There must be some kind of cost additions with this friction.
It's not just money, you're absolutely right. There's the cost of the time at the border. We live in a just-in-time inventory world, and when manufacturers order up parts that go into their manufacturing process, they must have those at a certain period of time because they don't want to have to build up the inventories in their own plant. So every minute that a truck is delayed at the border, and there's a number of other examples of this, every delayed minute is cost. And we as I say, we thicken the border, we increase the cost of that border, and we feel in some cases in an unnecessary way. So we feel we have to focus on the reasons why, and as we did with the free trade agreement, eliminate those one by one to make sure that that's a very efficient border. That's an advantage that both countries have.
These issues aren't always unsolvable. You know that Georgia is very much a forestry state, and after over 100 years of negotiating on softwood lumber, we finally have some sort of resolution. Do you think that there might be a resolution in some of these other areas?
You say 100 years, that may be how long it's seen, but it's about 25 years. But it was a very difficult negotiation. When our government came in, and I moved down to Washington as our ambassador, I said that was my first priority. So we worked hard at that. The President and the Prime Minister were both supportive of a negotiated settlement. We achieved that, and we're going to have some brush fires, I'm sure, along the way as people understand the specific elements of the agreement in an operational sense. But I think we're going to have peace here for 7, maybe 9 years under the terms of this agreement. We're happy with it. I think the United States partners are happy with it. So once we get some of these little brush fires turned out, then hopefully that will be behind us for a while.
Is this your first official visit to Atlanta?
This is my first official visit. I have been here in the past, but this is my first visit, and I'm here for 2 days and have a very good program, very full program. Met the governor yesterday, a good meeting with him, and we're going to hopefully be able to arrange a meeting with him and a number of other Southeast state governors, with some of our provincial premiers at the governors meeting at the end of this month.
Is that to further the prospects for a Canadian Southeast U.S. Governors Conference?
That would be one of the objectives of that meeting. There's also an objective on the part of the premiers to discuss the Western Hemisphere Travel Initiative, the passport requirement, as people call it. So there'll be 2 key elements of the agenda at those meetings.
We look forward to your return. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good to be with you.